Hello, everyone, and welcome to Halfway to Harmony. I am your host, Ellie Steele, and this is my music podcast. And so this is the first episode, and I'm very excited to start this series. And for any new listeners, I just wanted to quickly explain what my mission is and what I'm trying to accomplish. So my name is Ellie Steele, and I am a grade 12 student at Stelly Secondary School. I play the clarinet, and I plan on pursuing this in post-secondary and onwards. I'm very passionate about impacting the world in a positive manner and initiating change. I believe that there are certain aspects of the music community that we can improve upon. And my intention is that by having these open discussions and communicating with other musicians, we can help remove the stigma around some controversial topics. And so I would like to welcome our special guest for this episode, Stephanie Bell. Just my applause. Okay. So first of all, why don't you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Hi there. So my name is Stephanie, and I started playing the flute when I was 9 years old, and actually never really thought I wanted to pursue a career in music until I started learning how to play the piccolo, which is a more specialized niche area of classical music. And my teacher said, well, you can't play the piccolo just on your own. You have to be in an orchestra. It's not a solo instrument. So I started playing in a youth orchestra in high school and then decided to see how far I could get with it, and ended up doing an undergrad at UBC in flute performance and music history. And then I did my master's at USC in Los Angeles, and fairly quickly after that won my job in Victoria as second flute piccolo in the Victoria Symphony. And I've been here for the last 5 years.
Thank you for sharing. So today's topic is elitism. And so I just want to start off by asking, how would you define this term?
I guess I would define the term in the context of music as being kind of an attitude that persists, an attitude of sorry, it's
like really hard. I know, I had to look it up on Google.
Yeah, but it's a very persistent attitude in the classical music industry that basically that a lot of people, I would say mostly patrons, rather than the musicians themselves, believe that classical music is this just like the pinnacle of human artistic achievement and just better than everything else. And that's something that I have encountered a lot.
Oh yeah, me as well. I'll just read the Google definition because
sure.
It was also hard for me to come up with the definition, because I feel like it's a little like subjective depending on who you ask. So Google defines it as the advocacy or existence of an elite as a dominating element in a system or society. So I feel like that definitely applies. Some people do think that, there is a hierarchy.
And they think that it's, that classical music is the best form of music, and that it's somehow better than everything in a cosmic sense.
Yeah. So for me, when I was kind of looking into this and just really thinking about the word and its impacts in classical music, I can really think of two kind of examples, like classical musician and like a non-classical musician, and then both like, classical musician to classical musician. I think we can both agree that this exists in the music world, and it definitely has some negative impacts. For example, I think that title has a lot of influence on other players' perceptions of one's playing. For example, if you just think of like the most prestigious schools like Juilliard or like Curtis, versus a lesser known school, I think that already like that, I don't know, just like the image of something very like prestigious, it can affect one's thinking, and you might think like, oh, they must not be good because they haven't gone to like this great school. I feel like that's, of course everyone's like entitled to their own judgment, but I just don't think that we should let that, affect whether someone is good or not. But for the most part, I feel like classical music isn't inherently like elitist, but it's actually displayed in the attitudes of one's playing. Like, I think that composers, they don't write music thinking like we're only gonna allow this certain like small group to listen to this song, and like only like really good people can or like really high status people can listen to this. I think they just create it for everyone.
My cat.
Oh yes, the cat.
She has some opinions.
She has some opinions, obviously.
No one's more elitist than she is. Yeah. So one of the things that, I think I'm gonna start with the music itself, rather than the elitism of different music schools. Classical music, the music that orchestras play, the canon, is, I would say probably 90 to 95% of that music was written before 1900.
Yeah, definitely.
And in that sense, the classical music industry or the orchestral music industry is very much, I don't know how morbid we're allowed to be.
Oh yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We can
but
edit it out.
Myself and a couple of friends who share the same views, we sort of describe orchestras as being museums of death. They are museums to an old world.
Yeah.
And that old world is white supremacy, really, is what it comes down to, right? Mm-hmm. So this idea that, and I love Beethoven.
Yeah.
Beethoven will be an example I use. He's a great composer. But the idea that we are still holding Beethoven up as this, perfect artist and performing, we had a joke this season because we performed all of Beethoven's symphonies because it was some anniversary, whatever. We were all joking, well, do you think they'll give us 1 year without performing a Beethoven symphony?
Yeah.
Next year? Of course not. We're performing at least one, maybe two.
Yeah.
Orchestras perform these symphonies just en route every year. And it strikes me as being very in the vein of white supremacy and elitism of, well, the music from this era, this time of, colonial powers ruling the world is the music that we're going to hold up and we're going to play all the time. Mm-hmm. And orchestras do not, no matter what they say, they do not put enough focus on modern music. And I really think that it can be tied to the institutions themselves, but really those institutions are tied to their patrons, and that's what their patrons want, and so that's what they do. We had a little bit of an interesting issue this year where we, in the weeks after the invasion of Ukraine, we were performing some music by Shostakovich, and a Russian composer. And personally, I didn't have an issue so much with performing the music as I did with the way our management was going to approach it. They weren't seeming like they were going to make any kind of statement about it or anything. And so I'm on the musicians committee in my orchestra, and we were discussing it with them. And I won't name names, but it was basically what was presented to us was the view that artists need to be doing, saying difficult things and making the difficult conversations. And I just remember sitting there thinking, so we're pushing the boundaries. We're, saying difficult things. Okay, are we going to play any new music this year? Are we going to push the boundaries of what our patrons want? If you're okay with making people uncomfortable playing this, okay, I can see that as an argument. But you don't make them uncomfortable in any other sense. Yeah. You don't make them uncomfortable by performing new music. So that was, I found to be a little bit interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think we, I feel like there is a lot of, from my perspective, orchestra, if they're playing, I don't know, Beethoven 9 versus if they played, somewhat, a new composer that maybe I didn't know the name of, I feel like it kind of drops a little, I don't know, prestige or just, for some people, I think.
Well, and we have to remember that back in the day, when Beethoven's music was performed, this was the new music. This was the popular music that people went to see. And I don't have a problem with playing the old music, but the idea that is all that we play.
Yeah, definitely.
Except for a couple of concerts here and there to get grants.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's what it's for. You get grants for playing new music, and that's the only reason they do it. I find that very disappointing.
Yeah, it would be nice to get some new representation from composers, not just playing the same old kind of white male person. Definitely. I think like it is 2022, and if no one decides to make these changes, when will they make these changes? Like centuries from now, could they still be playing just like, you know, Beethoven?
They will
Mozart?
be.
Yeah.
If they're still
definitely.
around. And that is a fear that a lot of young musicians have, is that this old centric, you know, old elitism approach is not sustainable, and we are concerned that this is going to just lead to a decline in our industry. If I can name names, though, for one thing, I will compliment the Pacific Opera Victoria.
Ah, yes.
Because every year they do 3 operas. Usually they'll do 2 more traditional ones, and they always do one more unknown, often modern production. And because so many of their patrons are subscribers, you just you subscribe and you get a ticket to every opera. It kind of forces people to go and see something new, and their productions are always so good that I actually think like they as an organization are doing a really good job of sort of tackling some of that, you know, Verdi's opera ended at Verdi kind of nonsense, elitist nonsense, and I really appreciate that about them.
Yeah, I think it's really good for listeners also to kind of keep an open mind. I remember like I was just watching this live stream of some kind of modern piece, you know, not really known, and I was like actually reading like the comments, and there were actually some like pretty bad comments, like go back to like Mozart, go back like yeah, so, you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but, you know, unless you actually open your mind and try to enjoy new music, I feel like it's just not gonna happen.
And holding up the old music as this, you know, perfect standard is something I find, I mean, sometimes funny, sometimes sad, but when I was in school, and maybe you'll have this experience in your undergrad, I was able to take some classes on music from other cultures. And in particular, the class that really struck me the most was about Balinese music. And it is so complex. I mean, I think to learn about Indian music, you would have to take years and years of school, because I think it was too complex for one class. But Balinese music was so complex that it made me laugh a little bit. Like people who have this classical music up on a pedestal of being the most complex harmony and a variety of instruments, and what a long history it has of development. They're completely ignoring the fact that that exact same complexity of harmony and rhythm and instruments and history exists in many, many other cultures. The difference being that the European culture is much more documented, because it was during the time of colonial powers, and there was a lot of documentation. There was a lot of like financial and cultural growth that we just know about because of that historical documentation. But I did find it quite ironic. It's like, sorry about that.
It's okay. Oh yeah, another guest. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, it's like a package or something.
Oh, okay. It's like another special guest.
No.
Okay. Yeah, no. Random person's opinion. Come in.
What do you think about
okay. Yeah, I actually have some points about that.
Sure.
So when I was getting ready for like my university auditions, I was just like researching online, you know, to find any tips and resources. And I actually came across this article that was published by a professor who had worked there, or who is still working there. So in his statement, he, well, first of all, he even admits that his view is possibly elitist,
Oh, boy.
which is its own little thing because it's like saying no offense and then continuing to offend a person. So I'm like,
I'm not racist, but
oh yeah, exactly. But I'm like at least he's aware. But he mentions that if a student only listens to heavy metal or country or smooth jazz or Scottish bagpipe music and displays no interest in or knowledge of classical, jazz, or world music, their ability to thrive in a university is questionable, and the likelihood of their becoming future influences in our society as performers or teachers of music very slim. That was a lot. I'll probably give you this to read.
So he's saying that about music students?
Yeah.
Who are trying to be classical performers?
Yeah.
Is that what he's saying?
Yeah. I mean, like, it makes sense, but I just think that this message could have been said in, like, a less elitist tone, and it almost seems kind of a little obvious. Like, if you're going to your interview, you're not gonna, say that. But I think that just his kind of attitude to me seems like he's saying that, like, I don't know, Scottish bagpipe like music is less
He's
than
saying
classical.
that the music that he listed is less complex and less valid.
Definitely.
I have some questions about the listening part of it though. So I guess I get to say now, because I'm a professional, like, people pay me to play my instrument. I'm a good performer. I whatever. I don't listen to music. I never did. I only listen to classical music when I'm going to concerts, which is never. Because I am the music scene in Victoria. I don't go to concerts. And when I have to study for school. I don't listen to music. If I do, it's certainly not classical music. So it's, I think that's sort of, I mean, you can study it. If you're studying it and you're doing it, if you're listening to music for enjoyment, it doesn't matter what it is.
I just think it draws the line of, like, being professional when, you know, it's one thing to have these thoughts. Maybe say it to a friend or whatever. It's fine. But to publish this, like, representing a university and, like, telling people this, I feel like maybe he should have kept those thoughts to himself.
In context, but, I kind of want to read
Here's the highlighted.
If they listen to it and display no interest...
I just think it could have been said, like, even if he wanted to say it, like, it could have been said in a less elitist tone. Like, it's very, like, here are the good, like, the superior music genres.
I guess I just don't know what the point is. Like, if you're able to play your instrument as well, like, let's say there's two students, right?
Yeah.
One of them listens to classical music in their spare time, and one of them doesn't. But they both, like, he's basically saying that one of them is more likely to become a better performer or a better teacher. And I would question that quite a lot. I mean, I have a good friend, actually. She was at USC when I was there, and she did her doctorate. And the way the DMAs work there is, instead of a dissertation, you basically do 3 concentrations. So her concentrations were oboe, performance, forgot the other one, and pedagogy. And she's done a lot of music teaching and focuses a lot on popular music and whatever the stuff that he's poo-pooing and
smooth jazz.
And there's actually a lot to also, like, who listens to smooth jazz? I'm sorry, like, this seems pretty out of touch anyway. But and that part of her teaching was a really, really good way of getting her students to learn the fundamentals of music from music that is a little simpler. And I don't mean that in an elitist way. It is more simple, but it was a way to get them to see a lot of the fundamentals that you wouldn't see if you were presented with a Chopin prelude or something that's extremely complex. Definitely. And it got our students interested, and it caused a lot of really good discussions and stuff. So I find that quite... I think that's fairly silly.
Yeah, it was a little, like, off-putting, to be honest, and, like, publishing that, representing a university, like, here's what to say in your audition, here's not what to say. So then I was going in to, like, my interview, and I was like, do not say, like, that you listen to, like, rap or something, you know, just, like, mention some big name,
that's a real
Mozart,
shame.
Beethoven. Yeah, I just... Yeah, that was a little, yeah, definitely, that was something. And I just have another point, like, I don't know if you can really relate to this, because this is on, like, the flip side of, like, musician to musician. But, talking more about the kind of attitude of, like, elitist musicians.
Yeah.
So I know that I have come off elitist to someone and some people. And I think that, like, obviously I was not trying to come across like that, but I think that some people's, like, success or achievements can come as a threat.
I absolutely know what you mean.
Yeah. Even if you're not, like, you know, I get it if it's one thing, like, I won this thing last weekend. No, but, like, if you don't say it, like, yeah, for example, like, I was just in this maybe less, like, competitive group, you know, people who have less experience, and I came off as elitist without even really trying to, and the fact that I, like, took, like, private lessons or maybe had some theory knowledge, it kind of, like, come across that I was, like, arrogant, and maybe a bit of a snob. And I remember, like, an example of that was I was, like, given a little, like, performance opportunity with this non-competitive, like, group. And then, of course, like, I took the opportunity. But I, like, received comments like she just wants to show off, or she probably thinks, like, she's too good for them or something like that, even though, like, I don't think that I was, like, I came across like that. But yeah, it just, like, it kind of hurts when I receive these comments from, like, not only my peers, but also, like, musicians in, like, leadership positions, you know? It's kind of like, I'm not trying to sound like I'm better than you.
I've been in your shoes when I was in high school.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's so I will say the most important thing you can possibly do is recognize that was something that you didn't like.
Yeah.
So if you don't like how that feels, that automatically means that you're not someone who's some snobby whatever. And it takes a long time in our life. I'm 31. I still haven't figured it out about how to present yourself to the world in a way that is representative of how you are inside. It takes a really long time to figure that out. And in high school and in undergrad and for a while, a lot of people who are high achievers, there are definitely two camps. There are people who just want to show off. There are people who have that. It's often just the self-esteem issue. But for people like yourself and like me who are high achievers, have a lot of energy, who want to figure out how good they can be at something and push themselves, when you're in a peer group that is still trying to figure out themselves in their own life, that can come across as showing off. It can come across because it's threatening. Like when I was in high school, I took private lessons and I, was very good at theory, and I was in a music program, and a lot of people weren't. And I felt absolutely like an outsider in my music class because I was taking it more seriously than everybody else. And I think back to my peers in high school, and I'm so proud of all of them. Like they all went off and did great things in their life. I'm one of the only people who went into music. Yeah. And that was great. I didn't think that everybody else should be wanting to do what I did. In fact, I was like, why am I doing this? What a stupid career for me to go into. But I do know how you feel. And this is something that's going to keep coming up. Yeah. But I wouldn't... It's something for you to recognize that you don't feel like you're superior to everyone else. Yeah. And you can find a way to make sure that they know that. And unfortunately, the onus will be on you to try to present yourself in that way. Yeah. But you also can't help it if people are feeling a little threatened by that. I'm sorry to hear that happen, though. Yeah. It will get better. Yeah. As you find your niche, as you find your group of people who have the same, and I didn't find those people until I did my master's. That was when I actually met people who were taking things as seriously as I was, and I didn't feel like that anymore. And I'm sorry to hear that, though. It's hard.
Oh, it's okay. I understand. It's okay. Yeah. I think, yeah, it's really important as well to stress that I think that, there should be a little more like musician support musician. I mean, we're all in this kind of, fine arts kind of like area.
But when you're in a competitive situation, that is harder to find. And so now in my job now where it's not competitive, there is so much of that, and it's great. And I would actually recommend to minimize the competitive side of it, to try to spend time with people who don't play your instrument, because they will feel less threatened. And I had trouble making friends with flute players sometimes because I was comparing myself to them and thinking, oh no, definitely. Are you only asking to play this for me because you want to show off? Oh, I don't know. So I was hanging out with oboe players, and it was great. So that's one way also, because you can be nurtured by other people without feeling threatened, or without them feeling threatened by you, if that's something that comes up for you. But there definitely is a lot of that. Competitiveness, and it can be really difficult, and a lot of people acting like they're better than you. I will say though, something I've really learned by taking orchestra auditions. So you've got the show-offs, the people who will who might call you a show-off, who might be like toxic people, right? In an audition, let's say there's 100 people in the first round, and everybody's warming up in the room all together. And it's so loud, and they're so annoying, and there's catty, and it's awful. And then you all play the first round, and then they move, let's say they move 10 people onto the second round. Those people are always nice and chill for the most part. Having this toxic, elitist name dropping. There was the name dropping that always really got to me. I studied with so and so. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Like, whatever. All of those people, they spend all their energy behaving that way, and they don't put it into their instrument. And if you put your energy into that and try not to worry about what people are doing around you, you're gonna
I think
succeed a lot
your
more.
Talent should kind of speak for itself. I mean, if you're like, I studied this, I took this.
Well, nobody cares. Auditions are blind.
Like, definitely.
We don't see. I've just done 3 auditions this past week for the symphony. You don't see their resumes until they win. It doesn't matter.
I think that's good. Well, you don't ask what kind of music you like to listen to.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, definitely.
That's interesting.
I agree with that. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up now. Are there any last words, or I think we covered a lot.
We covered
definitely.
A lot, Do you think you got
great
enough?
discussion? Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Well, I wish you the best of luck on your travels and your career. Yes. And let me know if you need any advice on anything.
Once again, thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming to talk with us today.